this water is. I have no idea. Yeah, looks like somebody drank from it. So. He came yesterday, too. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Asatara Satyashri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai, Mathura Dhama Ki Jai, Navadvip Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Jamuna Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Namo Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharane, Nirvase Susanyavadi Paskatya Deshatarane, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Stam Sajivam, Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Vanchakalpa Trubhischa Kripasandvyavacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnava. He got home okay? No problem? Everything good? What? Okay, great, thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So it's March 29th, 2026 in New Goloka, Hillsborough, North Carolina, and we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 72, Text 14. Te vijitya nirpanvira ajarur digbya ojasa ajata shatrave bhuri dravinam ripayakshate. Please chant. Digya ojasa ajata shatrave bhuri dravinyam nripayakshate. Te vijitya nripanviryam ajarur digbya yojasa ajata shatrave bhuri dravinam nripayakshate. Te, they, vijitya, defeating, nripan, kings, viraha, the heroes, ajaru, brought, digbya, from the different directions, ojasa, by their personal strength, ajata shatrave, to Yudhisthira Maharaj, whose enemy was never born, bhuri, abundant, dravinam, wealth, nripa, O King Parikshit, yakshite, who was intending to perform sacrifice. BBT translation. I've been told that pretty much all the 10th canto translations were by Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu. After defeating many kings with their prowess, these heroic brothers brought back abundant wealth for Yudhisthira Maharaj, who was intent on performing the sacrifice, O king. BBT purport. Srila Prabhupada writes, so it's just directly from Krishna book. Srila Prabhupada writes, it may be noted that by dispatching his younger brothers to conquer in different directions, King Yudhisthira did not actually intend that they declare war with the kings. Actually, the brothers started for different directions to inform the respective kings about King Yudhisthira's intention to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. The kings were thus informed that they were required to pay taxes for the execution of the sacrifice. This payment of taxes to Emperor Yudhisthira meant that the king accepted his subjugation before him. In case of a king's refusal to act accordingly, there was certainly a fight. Thus, by their influence and strength, the brothers conquered all the kings in different directions, and they were able to bring in sufficient taxes and presentations. These were brought before King Yudhisthira by his brothers. Commentary by Srila Sanatana Goswami. They defeated the kings swiftly, O Jasa, because they were courageous, Viraha. Though the kings were defeated, they did not hate Yudhisthira, who had no enemy. Rather, they had devotion to him, since Yudhisthira had no hatred for any of them due to his nature. The victory was for performing the Rajasuya sacrifice. Instead of Agraru, sometimes Ajigyuhu is seen. Then the meaning is they conquered the kings and wealth for Yudhisthira and came back. O king, this is more glorious than the acts of previous kings. Please hear carefully. He says this to encourage Parikshit. Te vijitya nirpanvira ajarur digbya ojasa ajata shatrave buri dravinam ripayakshite. After defeating many kings with their prowess, these heroic brothers brought back abundant wealth for Yudhisthira Maharaj, who was intent on performing the sacrifice, O king. So here we see again Yudhisthira is referred to as Ajata Shatrave, one who has never had an enemy. So we talked about that previously, so we're not going to get into it so much now, but just the point that the kings were happy to, most of them, were happy to be under his subjugation because they knew that he wasn't envious of them. He had no hatred for them. He wasn't trying to usurp their local authority. It was a situation of mutual respect. And just another little side note on how the Vedic political situation was arranged. So like nowadays when you pay taxes, you're paying local, state, and federal tax, right? Anyone who pays taxes. So previously, you only paid local taxes. In the Vedic system, you only paid local taxes. Then the local government gave some portion of that to the greater state, and then that person paid some portion of that to the greater country. So these subordinate kings, it's just like we have a mayor, and then we have a governor, and then we have a president. So there was one empire, but under that were subordinate kingdoms, which had under that subordinate kingdoms. And the benefit of just paying taxes locally is then your local person felt much more responsible for you. There was much more of a relationship with the local government. So that's like just a little side thing. What I really wanted to focus on today was Ojasa and Vira, these two words in the verse. So we might think that this example of the Pandavas is not very relevant to us. I remember when I was first reading the Bhagavatam, I was thinking, what does this have to do with me? Like, it seemed that the people being described were so different from, Kardama Muni making flying airplanes going in outer space and things. I found the CC much more relevant. It sounded like I was reading about other ISKCON temples. But there's principles here that are certainly applicable to us, because although we don't have, unfortunately, I think we all feel, unfortunately, we don't have such a ruler as King Yudhisthira in the world. Yes, would that be nice? That would be perfect. Actually, Srila Prabhupada wanted some devotees to run for political office. I know in some places of the world there are devotees who are mayors, at least of some villages or cities. But we don't have Maharaj Yudhisthira as a world emperor. But we do have Krishna. We do have Krishna. He's the King of Kings. He's the Lord of Lords. Just like Prabhupada called the deities in London, Radha London Ishwara, and in Paris, Radha Paris Ishwara. Sometimes, just like here, we usually have backdrops of Vrindavan, right? So in the Soho Street Temple, they sometimes have backdrops of pictures of London. Like there'll be a backdrop of Big Ben, because Prabhupada named them London Ishwara. So Krishna is the supreme king, and we can certainly act like the Pandavas to ask everyone to pay their taxes, both literally and figuratively, to Krishna. Prabhupada would talk about how we're getting sunshine, we're getting water, and why are we not paying our electric bill to the sun? Right? To the Supreme Lord, we owe that. And what are the Pandavas collecting this wealth for? They're collecting this wealth for yajna. And certainly, we can go out in all directions. Here we have going in all directions, digbya. We can go in all directions to ask people to give their wealth. And wealth is not just money. Wealth is your talent, your time, your intelligence, and so forth, for the yajna of Sankirtan. We can ask everyone to contribute to this yajna for the glory of God. But in order to do this, we have to be empowered. So this word, ojasa, which Sanatana Goswami, well, it's translated here swiftly. Ojasa can also mean speed, but it means empowerment. So the Pandavas were empowered. They were filled with ojasa, and therefore vira. They were very heroic. So in order to have this heroism and this courage to go and preach to the world, we have to be empowered. So I wanted to look a little bit about the process of empowerment in terms of this word ojasa, which is a very interesting word. And what do we want to be empowered for? And how can we practically manifest this in the world? So I want to look at the process of empowerment. Now, this word ojasa is also an Ayurvedic term. And it's very connected with virya and vira, and also with the word that's not in today's verse, which is tejas. And of course, Krishna says that he is the tejas of everyone who has tejas. So there's ojas, tejas, and then vira. And you could say there's virya also leading to vira. So ojas, tejas, and vira. So ojas is like potential vitality. Your ability, your empowerment to do something. These leaves are pokey. I always think they shouldn't put leaves in garlands because then they're very pokey. It's like somebody poking all the time. And then tejas is your active energy, and vira is the expression of your energy, how you express your energy. And ojas is something that gives you stability, gives you purity and stability. And tejas is transformation. So if you have a lot of tejas out of proportion to ojas, if you try to manifest energy without purity, it actually burns up your energy. And if your ojas is strong, it supports tejas and virya. So a person who has vira, a person who's a hero, they have strong ojas and they have sharp, controlled tejas. Now, we should mention also that vira, there's 4 kinds of vira. One kind of vira is, what's your name? What's your name? Daya vira. So there's daya vira. So there's 4 kinds of vira. So one kind of vira is what we think of in terms of fighting, right? This vira is a chivalrous, a sportsman-like. I don't know if they say sports people-like nowadays or whatever, anyway. A sportsman-like chivalry of fighting. When the cowherd boys are fighting with Krishna and fighting with each other, they're displaying that kind of vira, or the Pandavas going out. Now there's also daya vira. Daya vira means the heroism of mercy, the heroism of compassion, of caring for others. There's dana vira. Dana vira is the heroism of charity, of giving. And then there's dharma vira. Dharma vira is the heroism of being righteous, following religious principles. So one can exhibit heroism in all these ways. We can exhibit heroism in proper sportsman-like fighting. We can exhibit vira in compassion, we can exhibit vira in charity, and we can exhibit vira in being a righteous person for the sake of Krishna. But in order to do that, again, we have to have ojas and tejas. You can't just be heroic, right? In order to be heroic, the ojas supplies the heroism, the virya. It supplies the energy for it. But tejas activates the virya. You can think ojas is like the battery, and tejas is like you're turning it on, and then virya is what you do with it. So if you just have ojas, it's inactive strength. It's not being used. If you have tejas without ojas, it becomes destructive. It's unstable. It doesn't have any proper energy for it. And if you have both balance, then you have true virya. So that's a little Ayurvedic analysis, but which is also applicable not just physically, but also mentally and also spiritually. So on a physical level, according to Ayurveda, ojas comes from having a balanced life. I was watching this little video this other day from an emergency physician, and she was saying, people take all kinds of herbs and supplements for their immune system. She said, you know what the best thing to do for your immune system is? Get exercise, drink water, eat balanced, healthy, home-cooked food, and learn how to deal mentally with the stress in your life. Don't hold on to stress in your life. That's the best thing for your immune system. So that's the Ayurvedic concept of having ojas. You get enough sleep, you get enough exercise, you get enough sunshine, you eat a balanced diet, and you have a peaceful mind, free from attachment, fear, and anger. So what are you ingesting? What is your life? And these principles work on the spiritual level too. What are we eating spiritually? Are we filling ourselves with the holy name? Are we filling ourselves with prasadam that's cooked with love, that's offered with love, that's eaten with love? What are we hearing? What are we talking about? How are we? This is what's building our spiritual ojas, which gives us spiritual steadiness. We're not going to be able to do heroic activities unless we have spiritual steadiness. And then we need tejas, which is illuminated intelligence that comes from ojas. The ojas manifests that way as this tejas, which Krishna identifies in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, I am the tejas of those who have teja, which can also be interpreted or defined as skilled prowess. So you're not just strong, but your strength has skill to it, has some background to it. And we see, like Prabhupada would note, how the devotees were very bright, yes? When a person has spiritual purity in their life, they're bright. And that gives us courage in spiritual life. That actually gives us the courage to be part of, not in this case exactly Yudhishthira's army, but Lord Chaitanya's army. And Srila Prabhupada would often compare our preaching to a military activity. I don't know how many of you are aware of that, but, the other day on Ram Navami, Leela Shakti gave a Sankirtan class. Kamalini and I were saying it sounded like we were listening to a class in the 70s. But Srila Prabhupada would write often about how the books were bombs, right? And we were in a war against illusion, that we were going out fighting a war against Maya with our bombs of the holy name and the books and our philosophy. And to fight that war, you have to be courageous. It's a scary world out there, isn't it? Isn't it? It's a scary world. We have, our leaders of society are unhinged. In so many countries of the world, it's not just a matter of one country, but so many countries, the leaders are not grounded in any kind of vira. They're not compassionate. They're not charitable. They don't have any sportsman-like qualities, and they don't have any dharma. They're not actual heroes. They're fighting underhandedly, just like at Kurukshetra, there were so many behaviors that were irreligious. Right? We're like fighting against Rakshasas. We just had Ram Navami. And of course, the part of the story of the Ramayana is the fight of the monkeys against the demons. And Prabhupada writes in a purport in the 9th canto that the demons had so many powerful mystic weapons, and the monkeys just had some sticks and rocks. He said the only ones who had any arrows were Ram and Lakshman. And Prabhupada in that purport compares our present devotees to the monkeys, the monkey warriors of Lord Ramachandra. And we may feel, our weapons are just like rocks and sticks. Like, what do we have? Some singing and some books. Whereas the people that we're dealing with, it's not only do they have armaments, but they have billions and trillions of dollars to control the media and the whole propaganda machine that's going on, the whole education machine that's going on. And what are we? So we have to have a lot of courage. It must have taken a lot of courage for those monkeys, yeah? Right? We saw in the drama Kumbhakarna, those of you who saw the children's drama, which was excellent, by the way. So the huge Kumbhakarna, right? Towering over those little monkeys. So we have to have some courage. And that courage comes from ojas and tejas. It comes from actual sustained purity of energy that gives us that ability to be heroes. So what do we want to be empowered for? We want to unite the world under the supremacy of God. That's what we want to do. Srila Prabhupada would talk often about how the United Nations was making the world more disunited. It was a recurrent theme. And Prabhupada spent quite a lot of time in New York, and the United Nations building is in New York. And in front of there are the flags of all the member countries. And Prabhupada would say, what is the united when there's so many flags? And they're constantly adding more flags. Right? This is our mentality now. Split up this country. Or split it up further. Or split it up further. Or split it up further. Have everybody have their own country. No, unity. So we want to, not that we want to be sectarian. Sometimes devotees think that if we want to unite the world under the supremacy of God, we're going to try to make everyone a Gaudiya Vaishnava, or even more sectarian. We're going to try to make everybody a member of ISKCON. Forget about the other branches of our sampradaya. My dear friends, my dear devotees, the only way to accomplish that is by violence and persecution. There's no other way historically to try to force everybody to be of the same religion except through violence and torture and persecution. There's never been any other way. And the Vedic religion has room for everybody, correct? When we say the whole world was under the Vedas religion, there's different branches and there's different aspects of it for different people. Prabhupada was one time saying we want a God-conscious government. And he was asked, does that mean the person has to be a Hare Krishna? Prabhupada says no. He said, mathematics is mathematics in any university. So we want everyone to come under the supremacy of the Lord. And we want everyone to be involved in yajna. This Rajasuya yajna is to establish the supremacy of Yudhisthira, and Yudhisthira, in the Rajasuya yajna, Krishna is going to be elected as the prime person. So Yudhisthira, Krishna is the president of the Rajasuya yajna, under which Yudhisthira is acting as the emperor. So we want to establish that God is the supreme person by engaging everyone in yajna, particularly Sankirtan yajna. So for this, again, we need ojas and tejas. We need properly digested, assimilated devotional philosophy and properly digested and assimilated devotional realization. It's just like once you eat properly, you have a brightness and energy about you, correct? So if we eat and digest our spirituality, our sadhana, our philosophy, then we also have that potency. And what is it we want to radiate? We want to radiate peace and joy and equanimity. If we're filled with spirituality, it's not that we're running around being, angry and sectarian and fighting. We had one instance not too long ago where one person who has some title and leadership in the movement, they posted something publicly criticizing other leaders and criticizing them in untrue statements. And when I pointed this out, hey, to other leaders, hey, this should be taken care of, the response I got was like, we're not going to bother with this. And I was thinking, if in our own movement people are publicly criticizing each other all the time and publicly yelling at each other and saying lies about each other, and even if that's coming from people with leadership titles and leadership roles, that's not the kind of potency that we want. We're not going to be able to unite the world. We're not going to be able to have an actually united nations if we can't even function among ourselves with proper etiquette and proper behavior. It's just not going to happen. So that's not the kind of power we want to have. It's not the kind of strength. It's not the kind of, what we want is, we want the strength of peacefulness and joy and equanimity. And we need, again, courageous action in this dark age. Now, does that mean all of us are going to go out as fighters? And I was thinking about, according to the Varnas, the different ways that you manifest courage. So those who are Brahmanas, they manifest courage in being willing to speak the truth, being able to give wisdom even when it's unpalatable. The Kshatriyas manifest it by doing things that are honorable and making sure that there's proper justice. And it's interesting that in Bhagavatam 8.5.41, this word ojas is used in relationship to the Vaishyas. I was thinking one reason is that the Vaishyas are making sure that there's food, which is what's providing everyone with ojas. But that this is the duty of those who are Vaishyas, who are in business, who are in agriculture, who are dealing with finance, is actually to give this potency to the society. And those who are Shudras are having this courage in providing beauty and support and functionality, making sure that things work right, making sure that things are beautiful, making sure that things are high quality. So let's just say that we actually did this. Let's just say that we, in our Hare Krishna movement, that we filled ourselves with purity, right? That purity is the force. It is our ojas. We manifested this in Tejas, and then we were courageous, and we could take over the world for Krishna. So this would be related very much to the purpose number 4 of ISKCON, to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of the holy name of God, as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, Kirtan, of course, is our Harinam Sankirtan, but Kirtan is also books. Right? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said that the books were the big mridanga. Correct? Right? On the side of his logo, that it has Kirtan and books, the printing press. So our Kirtan, this is also Kirtan. Talking about Shastra, talking about Krishna is also Kirtan. Book writing is Kirtan. Book distribution is Kirtan. Preaching is Kirtan. Going out and singing the holy name is Kirtan. So it's interesting that some years ago there was a group of us that got together and said, all right, if the purposes of ISKCON were achieved, what would that look like in the world? And we wrote a booklet, perhaps some of you have seen that. So on this purpose 4 of ISKCON, one of the things we wrote is that in nightclubs, instead of people taking intoxicants and singing mundane songs, they'd be drinking, nectar drinks and having bhajans. This is now actually happening. It's actually happening. So now in India, there's bhajan clubs. And instead of people going to the regular nightclubs, they're going to these bhajan clubs, and there's no alcohol, and they're all singing kirtan and bhajans. So it's amazing to me, when we wrote this, I guess about 3 years ago, it seemed to us as some, utopian dream. Would such a thing ever happen? But now we're saying, oh my goodness, it's actually happening. To teach Sankirtan in schools. And again, not sectarian. Prabhupada said you don't want to chant Krishna's name, you can chant the name of God according to your own tradition. We don't have objection to that. This is happening at least in London. Wonderful devotee, Naveen Krishna Prabhu, disciple of Bhakti True Swami. So he started these Avanti schools. And they're government-funded schools, which you can do in the UK. We can't do that quite here. And they're Lord Chaitanya schools. So most of the teachers, most of the students are not members of the Hare Krishna movement, but they're starting every day in Sankirtan. I mean, they have devotees come in to cook prasadam, so they're giving prasadam to everybody, but every day they start in Sankirtan. Could you imagine, if every football game, like now in America, they start the football game, I think, with the national anthem. So if we also were having Sankirtan before the games, before events, if people were chanting the holy name of the Lord, any kind of public event, any kind of public ceremony. I mean, we see that a little bit, that even in the government today, sometimes they'll start with some kind of a prayer, right? So to have actual kirtan like that people wouldn't just have phones in their pockets, but they'd have, a pair of cartels. And in London, we have Harinam 3 times a day. Of course, the temple's right smack dab in the center of the city. So to go on Harinam, all you have to do is go down the stairs and walk outside, and they're 30 seconds from Oxford Street. But the devotees are so much known for doing Harinam in London that whenever any advertising company or any movie director, whenever they want to show London, whenever they want people to know, okay, this is happening in London, they include a little bit of the Harinam party in the background because they're such a fixture. And then, of course, on Saturday, the 3 times a day, we're talking like maybe 5 or 6 people go out. And then on Saturday night, just like we used to do in New York, the devotees go to the theater district. And then, so many of the congregational devotees come, and devotees come from the manor, and there'll be 100, 150 devotees going through the theater district. So if we actually brought the world to the Sankirtan Yajna under the supremacy of the Lord, this would be happening regularly in every town. So I remember one time in London, we went on Sankirtan with Mahavishnu Swami, the one with the funny hat and the 2 different color shoes. So this was one of my first times in London, and I remember I got to the meeting place, and it was chilly and rainy, and I thought, I guess we'll go back. So in London, you don't go back just because it's chilly and rainy. Oh, it was really raining, but we found some awnings to be under. And it was incredible. I mean, just on Oxford Street, this was during the week, and so many people joining in. And then when we needed to go back to the temple, we were out for a couple hours, so it was really raining. And so what Maharaj did was he would take us from store to store. We would go into a store with the kirtan party, go through the store with the kirtan party, come out the door, and then go in the next store. And we went inside each store. The only places that didn't let us in were the meat restaurants and the gambling places. Those places wouldn't let us go in the store. But every other place. So we were having this Harinam like through the inside of the stores, and the shoppers and the salespersons were all chanting in the kirtan. But this is, imagine if it was not just us doing this, but everyone was doing this. Lunch break was a kirtan break. Or one of the nice things about visiting the Muslim countries is you hear the 5 times a day the call to prayer. Right? Some of you may notice this even when we're in our Mayapur temple. If you're in certain parts of the property, you'll hear that. So imagine that several times a day. It would be, why don't we do that for Gayatri? It's like I always wonder, why don't we have like a town crier for Gayatri time? But in every city there'd be, an announcement. Okay, it's kirtan time. And everyone to take a break from their work. One devotee told me, who lives in Dubai, he said, what's nice about living here is when I tell my coworkers, okay, I have to take my prayer break at noon, that they're all supportive of that. They all understand that. Yes, okay, you have to have a prayer break. So not just a lunch break, but a kirtan break for everybody. And as you say, it's not just the holy name, but it's also books. Prabhupada wanted his books in all the libraries. We had in Prabhupada's time the library party. And I was thinking in all the prayer rooms. Recently in an airport, I went into a prayer room to chant my Gayatri and chant some japa. And I noticed that there was a Bible and there was a Quran. And I thought, why isn't there a Bhagavad Gita? So there's prayer rooms in airports. There's often prayer rooms in malls, in hospitals, to have them have a Bhagavad Gita. All right? A Bhagavad Gita should be in all the hospitals, of course, in all the hotels, and then in people's homes. I just saw a really funny comic yesterday what it will be like when everyone has a full set of Prabhupada's books, right? And so then the Sankirtan devotee comes to the door and the wife says to her husband, do you want the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or do you want the Manashiksha? Because they already have all of Prabhupada's books, so now they have to see about the books of the Acharyas. And this is getting out books as far as possible, printed books, e-books, audio books, and flooding the world with classes and philosophy. So again, this is already starting to happen. We see many devotees' books even in bookstops. I see in airport bookshops, there's books by Gauranga Prabhu or Jai Gopal preaching Krishna consciousness. And so many devotees are giving so many classes online on so many different topics. So this is engaging the world in the Sankirtan. So here we read about the Pandavas who were Vira. They were heroes because they had ojas. They had potency. And of course, although not mentioned in this verse, they would also need tejas. They would also need that brilliance. Ojas by itself is not sufficient. And what was their heroism? Their heroism was to unite the world under a devotional emperor. That was their heroism. So we also want to get this potency and this brilliance and this courage. I really like when Bir Krishna Maharaj said many years ago, we're not here just to get our Krishna prema and run. We are actually meant to transform the world. Now, we may not be able to transform the world by going out with a whole military retinue like, Nakul and Bhima and Arjuna and Sahadev. We may do it in our little way, but what can we do? What can we do to bring people to yajna? What can we do with books? What can we do with the holy name? What can we do with beautifying the temple property and pulling the weeds? I'm on a weed pulling campaign right now. Like, get out there and pull the weeds, folks. What can we do according to our capacity, according to our mentality, according to our nature, according to our interest? What can we do? But first we have to fill ourselves with ojas, which means we have to be spiritually healthy. We have to be full of spiritual energy. We have to be full of spiritual potency. And then it's possible. One person, Srila Prabhupada, one person, in his old age, with a heavy accent, and coming without money, without political connections, was able to have such a huge impact on the world. And now that there's so many of us, then certainly we can also do this. So questions, comments, additions, subtractions, chastisements? Yes. Yes, Madhava is saying if you eat without digesting, you'll just get diarrhea. So yes, we have to actually, and a very small medicine can be very potent. That's for the internet people. So we don't just want to chant and hear without digesting, without realization, without actually understanding. Ojas is the final product of digestion. Yes. Yes, steadiness, yes. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chandra Bole. Kota Nidra Jao Maya Vishachira Kole. Pajibo bolia eshe samsara vitore. Pajibo bolia eshe samsara vitore. Bolia ile juni. Chia sari maya nasibara lagi. Sari maya nasibara lagi. Hari nama maha mantra. Bakaji Vinora Prabhu Sharane Pariya. Bakaji Vinora Prabhu Sharane Pariya.
Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Goloka Nanda, Radha Goloka Nanda Radhe. Jaya Radha Goloka Nanda, Radha Goloka Nanda Radhe. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Lord Gaurachandra is calling. Wake up, sleeping soul. Wake up, sleeping soul. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya? You have forgotten the way of devotional service and are lost in the cycle of birth and death. I have descended just to save you. I am your only true friend. Other than me, what friend do you have? I have brought the medicine that will wipe out the disease of illusion from which you suffer. Take this great chant for deliverance, Maha Mantra, the names of Hari. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, falling at the Lord's lotus feet, takes shelter of the Hari Nama mantra, the Lord's holy names. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai.
And we're going to have Harinam today. We didn't yesterday for several reasons. But it's going to be at noon, 12 noon today, at our favorite place, Weaver Street. So please come at noon today at Weaver Street here in Hillsborough. We'll be there for an hour and a half. Please come. Hare Krishna. Chaito Darpanam Arjanam Bhavahanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam. So much beauty. Your dramas and your addressing the deities are warming everyone's heart. Thank you. Namakari Mahudan Nija Sarva Shaktis Tadrapitani Amita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Anuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarora Pisu Hishuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim, Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye, Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare, Bhavatad Bhaktira Vaitaki Twai, Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha, Kripayata Vabada Pankaja, Stita Buli Sajashim Vachintaya, Nayanam Gadashu Daraya, Vadanam Gad Garudaya Gira, Pulakarnishitam Vapukada, Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati, Yugayatam Namishena, Chakshusha Ravashayatam, Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam, Govindam Virahiname, Ashlishava Padamratam Anastumam, Adarshanam Marmatau Karotiva, Yatatatava Vidadatulam Pato, Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causes, devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharan Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I've fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please keep me up in the ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes my heart by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Sri Shastra Ki Jai. I want to thank, we'd like to thank Champakalata Mataji for dressing the deities so beautifully. I mean, it's just really a feast for the eyes, and really between the wonderful drama and the beautiful dressing of the deities, Champakalata is really a devotee poet. So wonderful. And downstairs, of course, we have Shyamal Kishori heading up the cooking for the deities too. Haribol.